Next up is my dear friend and colleague, Márcio Crisóstomo from Brazil. Márcio is a plastic surgeon by training. I had the opportunity to meet him back in 2011, and we were at this hotel in Sicily, and I got to know him very well. And he just kept on talking about this one technique of strip FUE, strip FUE, strip FUE, and he went on and on and on. And finally, he clicked in. This guy likes this procedure. So later on, because of him, I was prompted to use this on a few cases, and I've had excellent outcomes with it. I have to also say that this is my good friend and colleague who did my last FUE surgery, about 2,300 grafts in the vertex, and give you a little welcome to take a look at his excellent welcome. So without any further delay, Dr. Márcio Crisóstomo.
Thank you, Ken, for the presentation. My name is Márcio Crisóstomo from Brazil. I'm going to talk about combination of harvesting methods for advanced baldness. Next. Have no conflict of interest in this presentation. And I would like to thank Patrick for the invitation to be here in Vancouver, this beautiful city, and to have celebrated my birthday yesterday with my family and some good friends. And it's an honor to me to finally meet personally Dr. Ray Woods, a person that I heard a lot about in the last maybe 10 years or 15 years that I've been in this field. It's a great pleasure. And I'd like to pay homage of my professor. In my background, specialty is plastic surgery, but I do exclusively hair transplant surgery, and I trained with Dr. Ivo Pitangui, was a very famous plastic surgeon in Brazil, considered one of the best in the world, who passed away unfortunately last year at 93 years old. He was, I owe him my background. And for me, there are three types of patients. Patients that doesn't care about linear scar. I like FUE. I would do FUE myself. I did FUE in my father. But there are some patients that simply say, "Hi doctor, I don't mind to have this scar." Or they don't want or can't shave the hair, or women. So there are FUE patients. They wear very short haircut. They doesn't want any linear scar. And they have a scalp without elasticity. We can get good results with any of both methods of harvesting techniques. The left one is one session of FUE, the right one is a session of FUT. But what about these cases? How many surgeries and how many grafts for these kind of patients do we need to perform until they have a very good result? So if we combine methods, we can achieve more grafts in a safe way in less procedures. So more grafts in a safe way, less surgeries during their lifetime. Well, so for these kind of patients, I propose the combination of FUE and FUT for advanced baldness, patients that want more hair in one surgery, and secondary case with poor donor supply, like these ones. Well, so there are patients for FUT, clearly, as I showed. Some patients for FUE, and there is an intersection of indication between these two groups. And some patients that can have benefits of combining both methods in the same session. Well, when I started performing these combinations, like almost 9 or 10 years ago, FUE was not this highlight technique that it is today. Today everyone wants to know or to learn FUE or to do only FUE. But 10 years ago it was not like that. This chart is from IHRP census. I started adding some small sessions of FUE on top of strip surgeries for advanced baldness. But I clearly realized that even if you don't see the scars, FUE leads some anatomical alterations in the donor area, clearly. So we did some histological studies to show that we have a fibrosis, less density, of course, if you are extracting some grafts, and some anatomical alterations in the surrounding hair when performing FUE that may lead another FUE harvesting more difficult, or an FUE, another FUT harvesting. So following the Hippocratic principle of primo non nocere, or first do no harm, that Dr. Bizanga very well showed us this morning, we developed this concept of achieving more hair in one surgery, combining methods, but still protecting donor area for the next procedure. Well, we have this published in some articles, and then this is a video show how we approach patients like this, Norwood class 6. Well, we try to determine the probable safe zone. It's very difficult to determine. Well, it's a probable safe zone. It's a strict prediction that we will, of course, be different according to elasticity during the surgery. This is the untouched strip that we will preserve without harvesting anything for a future procedure, and FUE know the safe zone. As Dr. Williams said, we perform the surgery under venous anesthesia, venous sedation and local anesthesia, always with an anesthesiologist. We start for the strip. I know that for some doctors that only perform FUE, this is like a crime, but believe me, this is a very good, give me very good satisfaction. Always testing to have no tension at all. It's very important. We have a larger team working simultaneously at this point. We do the suture in 2 layers, trichophytic closure, and then we start the implantation. I do stick and place. I implant every single graft myself. And with this extra graft, we increase density in the frontal hairline, or we go further to the back, or to the tables, or whatever we decide is the best use for them. So here's some results of this technique. Here you can see patient class 5A or 6. Of course, even with a larger amount of grafts, usually you need another surgery. So the area that we protect will be very useful for when these patients come to lower the hairline, do the temples, increase density, or do the crown. It's useful for secondary cases. This is a patient with one previous FUT procedure, so he want to lower the hairline, increase the density, do the crown, everything in one session. It's not possible, but if you have more grafts, you can have more coverage, more density, and more satisfied patients. So this is a 1 year post-op of combination. For me, it's very difficult to have, of course, pay attention for all the details of the hair transplant, so natural anterior hairline. And this kind of patient, they want more areas covered. Of course, we can do this in multiple procedures. But if we can have a larger area in one procedure for a patient like this, they usually be happy. And we see this when their friends come back and say, "Hi doctor, I want the same procedure." This is the donor area. As Dr. Bizanga said, even using a lot of the donor area, this is what we get in the donor area. Nice scars that can be assessed again. Another patient, same procedure, but it's a little bit dark, it is the projection. Well, here you can see the scar. It's a pretty acceptable scar. Normally not a complaint, at least maybe it's cultural. In Brazil, it's not common patients shaving their heads. Not common, so they prefer more grafts instead of, even if they have the inner scar. FUE is becoming more popular in Brazil from 2 or 3 years ago. Before that, no one was looking for FUE in Brazil. So paying attention for all the details of a good hair transplant. If you want some reference, this technique is published in the Barreira Weaver book, Dr. Samuel Lund and Dr. Ken Williams' book, and the next Unger book. The main disadvantage, in my opinion, is to have this aspect, not only shape the head, but showing all these long scar, linear suture. Not all patients can have this. So when the patient wears the hair longer, we describe this modification that we publish in the forum, that we shave selectively, so the post-operative period is more acceptable, like this. You see the first post-op, so it increases the indication, but of course reduces the number of grafts. I call this the aggressive conservative principle. It's aggressive because you combine techniques, you're using more the donor area, but it's conservative because you reduce tension in FUE. As I know that I will have more grafts in FUE, I won't go up to the limit of the FUT extraction, avoid tension. I avoid over-harvesting FUE because I don't depend on one or other technique alone to have the number of grafts that I need, and still preserving the donor area. So this is aspect of donor area even after this kind of use. So what's the effect on the scar? Some doctors say, well, the healing process the contraction of the healing process will traction this scar, and opposite, I face better scar with these combinations comparing with my previous strip scars when I do only strip, even with bigger sessions. That's because this constant improvement in the scar was because I don't need to go on top of the limit of each technique. If I need some amount of grafts, if I do only FUT, so I need this width in the extraction. If you do only FUE, you need to go beyond the safe zone. But if you combine technique, you reduce the amount of harvesting in each technique. So that's why I have this kind of course I have bad scars as everyone that they're doing surgery, but not because the combination, because of many factors. But I face better scar with combinations, compared with my previous results, only FUT. But when patients with very poor donor area came like this, 3 previous FUT surgeries, and this kind of Norwood 7 saying, hi doc, I would like to have what you can do, the best you can do for me. So for these patients, and they come and say, I want to lower my hairline, to do the temples, to do the lateral hump, prove this, to do the crown, and I said, okay, you do all of this. So for this kind of patients, I propose not only this combination, but also to use the BHT that Dr. Woods showed in a very perfect moment, the evolution of these techniques this morning in the brilliant speech. So I use the BHT combined with all the other procedures that we call the THT technique, or total harvesting technique transplantation. Only for selected cases, of course. So a patient like this, I try to use all his donor. And you can say, look and say, well, what kind of patient accept this kind of procedure? Well, if they want a hair, if they have a large baldness or previous procedures, if you offer a possibility of more grafts, I assure you that they would accept. So, strip will not cover what patient wants, so we combine with FUE, as I showed before. Try not to over-harvest. So we go to BHT. We are a group of 3 surgeons, comparable in skills, so sometimes we harvesting simultaneously, not punching, not trying to do it in a delicate way. Simultaneously, like I'm in the beard, my assistant is in the chest. Each area with its own particularities. Sometimes I'm implanting and she's harvesting at the same time. Scar repair is the final aspect of this. It looks like, oh my God, this guy will never be the same again, but the results is pretty nice in this kind of patients. Next. Well, this is what we get 8 months after the procedure. This is the patient. Very happy. Well, the scars in the beard or other areas are, well, we have some white spots, but patient can live normally with that. Here we are, me in the beard and my assistant in the chat, in the pubs. It's not my preferred area, of course, just exceptional case. I use in this area, difficult areas, the fuse technique for Dr. Arvind Poswal from India. After the incision, he dissects the graft with a needle. Very tedious and very slow procedure, but a very good, no transection, almost no transection with this kind of approach. Well, so for these cases of Norwood 7, this is what we can get after 2 procedures. So this is a kind of patient that usually we should say, oh, hey, listen, it's better for you to don't do the procedure. Don't do anything and use a prosthesis. And these options of combinations can offer a possibility of treatment for these patients. A patient like this come to your office and say, hey doctor, what you can do for me? What can you do for me? I went to many doctors and they said, oh, for you, nothing. Just use a hairpiece and that's it. So if you combine all these harvesting methods, you can offer something like this. This is the result of only one procedure. Very big procedure like strip, FUE, beard grafts, acceptable scars. Of course, I treat only the frontal area, but I explain to the patient, hey, listen, you have a better photo, but if you need another procedure, can be done. So that's why we try to preserve donor area. This is the aspect of the donor area of this patient after that extraction. So he can do a procedure similar to the crown. And pay attention to important details like the anterior hairline, temporal points. So in conclusion, there is this issue between strip and FUE. Some doctors, that's only one procedure that is perfectly acceptable. You can treat vast majority of patients with FUT or with FUE. But if the weather changes, if you have different conditions, in my opinion, it's good to have an option. Because not all patients are the same. So, in my opinion, it's better for the specialist to master all options to offer the patients a personalized approach. If there is a beginner in the room, I would like to say that this seems to be simple in the presentation, but it is not simple. It's a result of more than 10 years developing. And you need to have a team use it to perform mega sessions, both in FUE, separately in FUT. And be careful because it's a very long procedure, so it takes time away from your family, and once you are into this, patient will come and say, doctor, hey doctor, I want that procedure that you did in my friend. So if you do, start doing this, be careful with time with your family. Voila. Thank you very much for your attention.